Hello, my name is Monique. I'm 30 years of age, and this is my story about how I joined RCC. So I've always known of Christ, but I never took my walk with the Lord seriously until 2024. The first day I walked into RCC, I always remember the date, and that was the 1st of September 2024. So throughout the whole year of 2024, from January 2024, I feel like the Lord was convicting my spirit, and I went through a few things in 2024. It's quite a challenging year for a lot of people, but everything that happened led me to walk into RCC on the day that I did. The way I was operating, I was still living my life doing worldly things. I was still in the world. But 2024 was the year that God began to change me from the inside out. And when I made the decision to get baptized is when I truly knew I was ready to leave the former things behind and live my life for the Lord, give my life to Christ. How I found RCC. So one night, it was around 1 month before I walked into RCC. I believe it was the Lord placing it on my spirit, and I listened. So basically I decided to Google some churches within the borough. I looked it up, I'd done some brief research. I went on their websites and read a little bit about each church. And as I was reading about each church, I thought, this is too broad. There's so many churches within this borough. I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to choose 3 churches, and I'm going to visit all 3 churches, and I will decide which church I want to make my spiritual home. So I chose to visit RCC first, and the reason why RCC stood out the most to me was because of their website. The day I walked into RCC, I walked in feeling so welcomed, and I walked out feeling so fulfilled. I went home, I prayed on it, and I didn't feel any need to visit the remaining 2 churches. So I continued to come back to RCC, and I feel like it was one of the best decisions I've ever made, and I've been coming here ever since. So the day of my baptism, when I woke up in the morning, I felt great. And as it got closer and closer to the hour of the event, I started to feel nervous. But in that moment, it was important for me to reflect and remember the baptism classes that I had attended beforehand, and remember that the enemy will try to deter you from achieving what you desire to accomplish in the sight of the Lord. And I just had to remind myself that the Lord said, be anxious for nothing. So got to the church, entered the church with my family. I was greeted by my RCC family and friends, and everything was wonderful. Once I was baptized, I truly felt it was like an instant relief. Like I felt like a burden had been lifted off of my shoulders. As Christians, just because we're baptized, it doesn't mean that we're not going to face any challenges, but it does mean that we have the Lord on our side, and He will give us a peace that surpasses all understanding. That was my baptism, and again, one of the best decisions. In fact, it's the best decision I've ever made, and I think I'll say that for the rest of my life. If you feel like your soul needs restoration, there's no better place for you to be. RCC will welcome you with open arms. It is truly a close-knit church. It feels like a second family. I remember describing it to one of my friends, and I just said to her, I feel so warmly welcomed and embraced. There's literally no need for me to explore anywhere else. So if you're looking for a community, if you're looking for people that are going to support you and encourage you, no judgment. You know, you hear the term judgment-free zone. I've never felt judged in RCC. If you're looking for a new church, if you haven't been to church before, if you want to go back to church, I would recommend giving RCC a go.